Okay, so I'd like to start this presentation with a little exercise. I would like you to raise your hand if you have ever used in your career ngnew command. Okay, Angular developers on board. How about create React app? Cool. Okay, we have React developers as well. npx create NX workspace and NX build. Awesome. You can congratulate yourselves because it means that you have already used generators and executors. That is the topic of my today's talk. You can give yourself a big round of applause. So let me introduce myself before I continue. My name is Kasia. I work at Highland as a front-end developer. I am a Microsoft MVP. And actually, I have a big connection with Wrocław because I graduated from Politechnika Wrocławska, and I have a big heart for the city. So yeah, it's very good to be here. Okay, before we start, I suspect that all of you already know, but just to set the stage, what is NX? Well, if you go to the NX website, you will learn that it's a build system for monorepos. It helps you develop faster, keep CI fast as your code base scales. So what it actually means? Well, the key features are obviously the monorepo management, and this is probably why we all use NX, but also all the perks with the computational caching, the dependency graph, incremental builds, all the new cool features they are introducing now with like this self-healing CI and everything that Adrian already mentioned. But there is one more thing in NX that I think is not very well known, but is actually very powerful. And that is the tooling integration and the extensibility. And this is what I would like to focus on in this talk. So let me introduce the use case that I am going to show today. We are going to build the DC comic fandom. And every superhero will get his own library in my NX monorepo. So the structure of my code will look like this. There is the monorepo, one application, the DC fandom, and a library per every superhero. I'm gonna have the items.json file that will describe my superheroes to display on the home page. And since I chose Angular for this task, but it doesn't really matter, I need to have the app routes config file to have all the correct routing for my superhero libraries. So now, my task as a developer is to add a new superhero library. So how can I set up a new library? Well, option A. I can just copy and paste existing code, rename, remove, adjust, and probably this is what most of us would do. And it would work, of course, but is it the best way? Well, let's see other options. Option B would be ask AI to generate the code, but then probably would have to do some cleaning up, some adjusting, because you know how it is with AI. It works, but it's not perfect. Option C, which is maybe slightly better, we could use the actual NX built-in library generator from the schematics. So we would have a proper NX library, NX Angular library created. But then we would still have to add the new entry to our items.json with a new superhero, the routing, we would have to scaffold the fandom page, and so on. So it's okay, but still there are some repeatable steps. So probably in this use case, we are going to add a lot of new superheroes, and there are these repeatable steps, so why not automate it? And because our developer that is working on a task is in fact a super developer, he knows that he can generate a generator. Okay, so how you can add a generator into your NX workspace? Well, first you have to extend the capability of your monorepo with a plugin. So you have to execute the command nx add nx plugin. Then generate the actual plugin, and inside generate a generator. So enough of theory, let's actually do it. Yeah, I'm gonna need some help here with the mic. Thank you. Yeah, this is the beauty of having the live coding. Okay, so here is my repo. I have my application, the DC fandom with the src, the app inside. There is this item.json that I was showing you already in the presentation. That is the app routes. And at the moment, I have only one superhero set up that lives in my libs, Green Lantern, yeah. And I'm already running this, so let's see this in action. Okay, here's my Green Lantern superhero. I can click it, see some overview of the fandom, navigate back. Okay, so let's generate a plugin first. I have already extended the repo with the nx plugin capability. So now I can add nx generate plugin, and I will call my plugin tools because it's just going to be my internal tools. So it is going to prompt me a couple of questions like about the linting, the test. I will just go with the default for now. Okay, so now I should be able to see my newly created tools. Okay, there it is. It's pretty empty. And if we look into the project.json, you will see that it's nothing else but just another library type of NX. So there is no mystery here. The default build executor is just the TypeScript compiler. So no magic here, just plain old TypeScript library. Okay, let's add the actual generator. So I will generate my generator with nx command, and I am adding the path where I want the generator to be. Okay, perfect. It appeared here. I have also this new generator.json file that describes all the generators I have available. So now there is the only one at the moment. Okay, let's look inside our HeroLib generator. So the first file that is important is the schema.json. So the schema.json is the file that describes the shape of the arguments that you can pass when you run the generator. So by default, it only will prompt for the name, but for my generator, the HeroLib generator, we will need a bit more properties from the user. So let's implement it. And I will prompt my user about the name, about the image, and I will make those two required, and then optionally a directory. But if they don't pass it, I will just evaluate from wherever he runs this generator. So this is the optional one. Next in line for the generators is the schema.d.ts that has to mimic exactly the schema.json, because this is the file that we are actually going to use in our generator code. So let's implement it. I have my HeroLib generator schema with my name, image, and optional directory. So this exactly reflects the schema.json. And then I have my generator options that extend it because I need to populate it with some additional information. But I am going to derive it all from whatever user told me provided when he runs the HeroLib generator. And finally, the most important file of the generator is the actual TypeScript file of the HeroLib. So here is where the actual generator logic lives, and this is what gets executed. So by default, we can see that NX already created some code for me. So what this would do, it hard codes the place to generate this library. It would add a project configuration into my NX, and it would generate the files from files directory. which is here. And here it is pretty simple because I only have the index.ts.template. So this is a template file. Let's see. Well, as you can see, it's pretty dummy at the moment because we only have some variable exported. Okay, so we have to actually implement this code to make sure that we have some meaningful code generated. So, because let's remove this default implementation, and because I don't like reinventing the wheel, I am actually going to reuse the already existing library generator that comes from NX Angular generators. So I'm not going to generate all of these library files that my default generator would do. I'm going to compose my generator out of this already existing one. So I'm going to import it. And just by calling this line, I would already have similar result as if I would be just calling the Angular library generator in my NX. But of course, I need to have a correct schema. So let's get the schema properly implemented. Okay, I will normalize my options. Let me implement it in a moment. But first, let's implement the correct type. So the library generator of Angular, of course, expects the schema to be of NX Angular generator library schema. So this is the one that we want. And we are going to use the helper method from NX Dev Kit. The NX Dev Kit is super useful library. It's a little library. Unfortunately, it's not very well documented. I'm not sure why, but it's very helpful when you work with custom generators and executors. So for this, I'm going to import it. And let's implement this normalize option here. Yeah. So as I promised before, I will derive all those additional information that I need to generate my library from whatever user gave me as an input. So the directory, route, import path, and so on and so on. Okay, so at this point, I have an Angular library created with some predefined schema options. So for example, I've already set up that I want the change detection to be on push, I want the style to be a CSS, and so on and so on. But, well, we are quite far from there. So what we want to have next we want to have this items.json file automatically modified. So let's apply this code mod here. That's going to be this function here, modify items.json. So what this function would do, I would first use another helper option from the NX Dev Kit to identify the target project root and retrieve the path to the file that I want to modify. And then I will simply update the JSON. Again, NX Dev Kit helper function, very helpful. I highly recommend using it. And updating JSON is pretty straightforward because JSON have usually solid structure, so no surprises there. It's going to be either an object or an array, so it's not a rocket science to just find this array and insert new element inside like this. But next in line, what we want to update, is the app routes. And with app routes, here is a little bit more complicated story. It is because it's not a JSON file, it's a TypeScript file. And how we can modify a TypeScript file in a reliable way. Well, we could try some regular expressions, but that's most probably is going to be buggy. So what we could actually do, what is the best approach here, is to go through and analyze the abstract syntax tree of the TypeScript file and insert a new path in the correct way. So let's see how the abstract syntax tree looks like for this file. Well, if we put it in the AST viewer, you will see that we have import declaration, that's correct, then another import declaration, then we have a variable statement, inside we have a declaration list, a variable declaration, okay, array type, perfect, and finally we have the actual array literal expression, which has object literal expressions inside. So what we have to do here, we have to traverse through this syntax tree, find the array, and insert another object inside. So there are, as always, many ways to accomplish it. I am going to use a third-party library in here, but you can even do it with plain TypeScript if you'd like. And I chose the JS Code Shift. I've seen this was once recommended by NX. I'm not sure if they are still recommending it. It's, I believe, from the Meta. So it's not some no-name library. And it is more convenient to move through this abstract syntax tree with it. So how it works, I create the route template, just regular Angular route. I read my file, and then with this JS Code Shift, I traverse through this abstract syntax tree, and I find the name declaration, variable declaration, array expression, and finally, I insert a new element into this routes array. So it's a bit more complicated to write the TypeScript code mode, but it is feasible, and you can do it in a quite repeatable way. Let me actually call those functions here so that I don't forget. So we have a modify items.json and modify app routes. And I have a good hints from my copilot, because last thing I would want to scaffold this basic component so that when I generate my new hero library, it's not going to be some component works component, but it's actually going to have this basic thing scaffolded. So for this, let me implement it. I'm going to call this function generate additional files, and I will place it. I have to take my source folder, which is going to be the files. I have a target, and then I just generate these files with options. And options are just those parameters that will replace my templates. So let's get this template running, because this index template is not very helpful. I'm going to remove it, and I have it already prepared just to save us some time. Let me put it here. So I have, as you can see, the name is quite mysterious because it just underscore component name. But the thing is that this is going to be actually replaced. So by the parameters that I will pass, it will generate an actual component with a proper name. And I have my HTML with some placeholders like name, which is going to be replaced, a CSS, a TypeScript file that has some basic, some code already. So the selector is going to be replaced, and so on. So we have all this template with placeholders that we can just replace. Okay, so at this point, we should be good to go to actually test it. Let's see, hopefully it will work. I am going to use the visual generator now. There is this NX generate. And look here, it's already detecting that I have created a new generator. And it's here, it's a tools, hero lib. Let's see. Okay, I don't care about this. And this form actually reflects my schema. So it has an image and a name as required values, and then optional directory, which I'm going to skip, let it just resolve by itself. Okay, I'm going to generate a library for Batman. I think it was like this, and it's going to be called Batman. I can see a dry run in a terminal. This looks good. It tells me what it will do without doing it yet. So dry run is pretty helpful here, but I like the outcome, so let's do it. Okay, I think it has finished. So, okay, my items.json get this additional Batman. It's good. Routes got additional. Oh, and the formatting is messed up because actually what I forgot to do, I could actually also add the format files. And I think it's an async function. Yeah, this would make my formatting way better. So let's see if it actually works in the app. Okay, and we have Batman. And I can click it. Oh, and it didn't work because it was supposed to populate the component. And why it didn't work? It's a good question. I think I know. It didn't work because I didn't call this function. So obviously it did not generate my additional files. But don't worry, we'll test it again in a second. So you might wonder, is it still relevant in 2026 now that we have AI and we are doing all this AI-assisted coding? So who uses generators anymore? So what if I told you that it is actually very relevant because AI agents combined with NX skills work perfectly with generators. So let's try using it. I'm going to use my AI chat and please generate a new hero library for Wonder Woman. Let's see. And this is always the moment of truth. Okay, so look here, it actually used NX generate, so it used the skill. Okay, so this is good. Let me check the generator schema. And it's using a dry run. Okay. And look here, it actually detected that in my NX repository, there is a generator that matches my prompt. So it will not just generate random files, but it will actually use this generator to create a reliable output. So a new library is at libs, Wonder Woman. Okay, looks good. Let's see if it works. Okay, it seems like it worked. And I fixed this creating files, so I have my fandom. Okay, so we have a library generated. Let's go back to the slides. So here is a question. Is a library the only thing that I can generate? And the answer is obviously no. You can generate pretty much anything. You can generate single files. You can generate components, libraries, as you've seen, entire applications in your NX monorepo. And you can actually generate an entire NX workspace. So, and the whole beauty of it is that you can package your plugin, publish it to NPM, and redistribute it. So it can be used in different NX monorepos, or even act as a preset to create a new NX workspace. So let's try doing it. Okay, so in order to have a whole NX workspace preset created, I will have to first create a generator for an application. I will just use the UI now so that I don't have to type some commands, and it's going to be a generator UI. The path will be fandom app, and I will just add some description, create a new application for fandom. Okay, generate. There we go, it's created with this default out-of-the-box generator. We have the schema again. Let me update the schema. This time I will only prompt for the name and optionally for a directory. Let me update the schema.ts. Again, name directory, and in my generator option, just directory actually resolved. And finally, the actual implementation of the generator. So that's going to be an app generator. And here, let me just add those imports. I am going to do pretty much similar thing. I am going to reuse the application generator from Angular, from NX Angular generator. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I will provide those default schema options. I have to add this additional dependency because I depend on Angular material. So I need to make sure this is done. Let me just import all those missing imports. Yeah, and I need to generate these additional files to scaffold my application. I will implement this generate additional files. So just like before, I am going to use the files here. So let me delete this dummy index.ts. It's not needed. And I have the files already prepared. It's a bit more files here. I have them prepared so that it goes faster. But of course, if you are creating your own generator, you have to curate your files so that they are properly created with this .template way. Okay, so by this time, I should have already this app generator. So if I run nx generate, okay, that's already here, my fandom app, I can generate an app. So I can generate this app, but only inside of my repository. But what I really want, I want to have it in completely different repos for different teams to reuse. So if I want it to be available for this create NX app, I need to also create a preset. And it's just another type of generator. And this is actually a very small one. It has to be called preset. So I'm just going to call it preset. Okay, schema is as here, so it is only going to be a different implementation here. Here, okay. So this is actually very simple code. I am pretty much just importing my fandom app generator and invoking it as a preset. And that's all my preset does. So how can I now test it? Well, I would have to package it into the npm package, publish to an npm registry. Yeah, it would work, but there is a better way to test your npm packages. And for this, I am going to use Verdaccio. How many of you have already heard about Verdaccio? Okay, we have a few hands up, that's great. So for those that didn't hear about Verdaccio, it is actually very convenient if you are creating redistributable packages. It's a hard word. Verdaccio lets you set up a local private proxy npm registry. And the great thing is that it integrates beautifully with NX. I have already pulled it as a plugin into my NX. So let me start it. And I start as NX local registry. Okay, it should run. Let's see. Okay, so I have my local npm registry. At the moment, no packages. I will leverage the NX release to publish my packages. And for this, I need to make sure that my tools package is actually releasable. So let's check out the package.json. Okay, I have some errors here because the dependencies are not aligned, so I will auto-fix it. And now I have all my dependencies in place, and I don't want this package to be private. Okay, and in order to make sure that it releases correct with NX release, I need to add here one more target that is called NX release. And it's a target NX release publish. It's just using the built-in NX release publish executor that will make sure that the release happens in the right way. I didn't do any extra configuration for this task, but NX release is pretty powerful. So I suppose it could be even a presentation on itself. Okay, let's do a release. It is executing the pre-version command, which is doing a build, and now it is asking me what kind of change. It will try to release all of the libraries in my project. I'll just release a major version for every one of them. Okay, yes, I want to publish. Okay, published with localhost. Okay, so it looks like the NX release worked quite well. There is the library that I am interested in, my NX, my Catherine 0/tools library that contains the preset. So now I will go to a completely empty workspace, completely outside of my repository, and I will try to create NX workspace. I will call it, for a change, not the DC fandom anymore, but the Marvel fandom. And I am going to use my preset. So it is going to prompt me for a couple of things. I am going to skip all those additional things for now. And this takes a while because it has to wrap all of these npm packages. It has to create a workspace. And even though I did it already and I have a lot of things cached on my computer, it is still pulling a lot of things from the repository. So I was thinking that while we are waiting, I am going to do a little quiz here. Oh, I was supposed to show these slides. This is when you add slides last moment. But while we're waiting, let's see what's going on. Okay, still creating. So I would like to ask you, who do you think is the greatest superhero of all times? Please raise your hand if you think it's Superman. Okay, cool. How about Batman? Okay, and Spider-Man? Okay. I'm not sure. I think there are more votes for Spider-Man. It's always the battle between Spider-Man and Batman. I don't know why nobody likes Superman. And it is still working. Yeah, this is the beauty of live coding, that sometimes you just have to wait. But don't worry, I have a backup plan if it fails. But I hope it won't, because I would like to show you that this thing is actually working. Yeah, come on, you can do it. Yay, successfully created. Okay. Fetching. I don't know why it is always fetching. It should be cached. I think NX team or NPM team maybe should work on this. Adrian, do you have an insight at NX team?
Maybe.
Okay. You should file complaints to them. They should reuse my computer cache, because I was doing this today when I was testing. Yeah. Sorry, just a couple of minutes more. Hopefully seconds. Okay, success, there we go. Let me navigate to this Marvel fandom, not the backup one, the actual one that I created, the Marvel fandom. Okay. Let's launch it. It's a new cursor. I don't need the chat at the moment. So I have the app created, Marvel fandom. Let's run it. NX serve Marvel fandom. Yes, of course, the port is in use. Let's use different port. Okay. And awesome. So I have this pure NX workspace created from the preset that was pulled from the npm registry. So this means that I can actually create some presets, like Angular team creates their presets, like React team creates their presets, Next team create their own presets, and I can redistribute it, for example, for my company, for my teammates, or whatever need there might be. And there's even one better thing, that if I browse my NX generate, I have the access to all those generators that are in this library. So I can actually create a new hero library using this generator, because it is in this package that I created. So pretty powerful tool, not very widely known, I think. Okay, so those were the generators. And what about the executors? By definition, executors are prepackaged node scripts that can be used to run tasks in a consistent way. So what it means, I don't know how about you, but I often see repositories with a lot of dangling scripts all around the repo. Some random shell scripts, some pure JavaScript scripts to be executed upon CI, all in different places, all untested, obviously. And NX executors is something that you can actually make, you can introduce some order to your scripts in your repo. Yeah, let's create one. Okay, I'm going to close this Marvel fandom now, and let's go back to my original repo. Just for the order, I will create a new executors directory. And of course, I'm going to generate this executor. So I'm going to use this NX plugin executor generator. Let me just scroll this down. Yes, I know I have uncommitted changes, but this is fine. And I'm going to call this call Batman. When in trouble, call Batman. Not Barman, or maybe Barman. Depends what trouble you're in. Okay, is it generated? Hopefully, yes. Okay, there is my generator. There is also one more file created, the executors.json. So my package now exposes also the executors. And let's implement it. This time, let's keep it easy. I'm gonna leave my schema empty, but similarly to generators, you can populate the schema with parameters that your script requires. So I am not touching this one either. And I am going to do my implementation here. And I'm not going to show you this implementation just yet. Yeah, let's go to the project.json, not here just yet. And how we can use those custom executors? Well, just like we use those built-in executors. So we just need to add another target in our project.json, either those app project or library project. It really depends on what your custom executor is doing. There are all those built-in executors that we use all the time. And I am going to add here this custom one. It's very simple. If I had some additional options in my schema, I would add them with the options property, but I don't have, so that's a simple one. And I have this little button here that says NX run tools call Batman. And yeah, Batman is coming to save you. So we have our executor that, of course, is dummy for the purpose of this presentation, but you can actually have some meaningful, like you can convert your all random shell scripts to executor, and then you can actually test them. So you can create proper unit test. You can incorporate it in your pipeline. And I find it more manageable to put my scripts, especially those that are executed on CI, as executors, rather than have them just dangling around my repository in some strange places. Okay, so that's pretty much it for live coding. Can I get the mic up again? Thank you. So just to summarize everything that you've seen today, generators let you automate repeatable code creation tasks. So you can generate the libraries, applications, components, files, and you can redistribute your generators as NPM packages. And what is A good thing about this in the AI era is that it can provide this additional consistency layer to the AI-generated code. There is this dev kit package that offers a lot of nice utilities when you are working with custom generators and executors, which I recommend using, though I have to complain it's not very well documented. So hopefully NX team will change it at some point. Yeah, and executors let you create custom commands executed upon your monorepo and help you manage all those dangling scripts around your repository. Okay, thank you very much. I am going to push. Yeah, thank you. I am going to create a new branch from what I created today, if you are interested, and I will push it to the GitHub repository so that you can see. And I'm going to name this branch Wrocław 2026. Thank you.